and even an Italian-speaking church, and to experience how Italians experience Christianity in church, and it's very, very different.
Hey guys, I'm Greg.
And I'm Ashley.
And this is the Living and Learning Podcast. On this podcast, we speak with fascinating guests to uncover how they've experienced life change by crossing cultures,
Crossing borders,
and expanding their worldview.
So, let's dive in.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. We are so excited to have you here listening in again. Today, I had a chance to sit down with our program director and founder of Rome with Purpose in our Rome, Italy program, Dr. Larry Peck. On this conversation, we sit down, we talk about a lot of interesting stuff. And so, yeah, Ashley, you had a chance to already listen to this interview. Tell me what you thought.
I am so excited for you guys to listen to Larry's interview today. One reason being is because he has so much wealth and knowledge that he gets to bring about Italy. Growing up there as a kid and spending so much time there, just in his younger years, he has even Italian language under his belt. And so it's awesome that he gets to teach students about basically his place where he was able to grow up. So it's going to be awesome for you guys to tune in and hear a little bit about some of the classes there and just his challenge to you guys as you study abroad in Italy. So tune on in.
Hey everyone, I'm here with Dr. Larry Peck, our program director in Rome with Purpose. And I'm excited to have a chance to have a conversation with you today. So as we jump into our conversation, I think we want to really touch down on culture. And as students cross cultures, they're coming from America to Italy. Yes. Really, a lot of your childhood and your growing up years was a lot of that, actually. So could you share with us about some of your growing up years?
Yeah, Greg, it's my life, and I'm sure others have had the same experience as well. It was bicultural. So my father was an American military man serving with the U.S. Navy, was stationed overseas, and one of his tours of duty was going to Italy. And there he met my mom and fell in love in the city of Naples. So they were married, and then I was born. I happened to be born in Italy. And then shortly after that, we moved back to the U.S. However, because he was still in the military, most of my growing up years were still bicultural in the sense that we lived sometimes in the U.S. and sometime in Italy. I had American, relatives, and I had Italian relatives. Two languages, English and Italian. Mm-hmm. And so for every 3 or 4 years, I would change context. So that was quite a privilege, a stretching, and sometimes even a difficult situation.
Yeah, I can only imagine what that would be like to bounce between two very different worlds. Yes. It's been a joy getting to know you over the years, and I've heard a lot of your stories, but to kind of fast forward to today, you're now running an academic semester program in Rome, Italy. Could you tell us just briefly what that consists of?
Yeah, sure. First of all, just to note that both my wife and I served as missionaries in Europe with two different missions. The primary emphasis was academic. It was a training and in ministry. And so that was a natural background for leading us into starting a study abroad program to work with young people, college students, to give them not only an academic experience, but also a cultural and a community experience. So it really was combining all those elements. We're based in Rome, Italy. It's a semester-long program. It's a shortened semester. It's 90 days because that's how long you can be there with your American passport. So it is quite intense, but it is an academic, spiritual, and community experience based in Rome, Italy.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've had the chance to go over a few times and sit with you and sit with students and hear stories. One piece that students always point to is the course Cultural Understanding. And
Yes.
it's a required course that all students go through.
Yes.
You shared briefly your your background of understanding culture by cultural understanding.
Yes. Yeah.
Could you tell us about this course? What do students touch down on? And
Yeah. Well, the Cultural Understanding course is divided into 3 sections. One section does deal with global culture. It's really a fairly industry standard Christian groups as well as secular groups format of having a way of understanding culture so that you can be successful in it. Okay, and that applies not only to Italy, but it gives us a way of analyzing cultures all over the world. So that's one aspect of the cultural course. There are 2 more aspects taught by 2 additional professors who I partner with in this course. One is Roman history, ancient Roman history, because we're in Rome. And so we have the opportunity to explore that aspect of history, but also how it affects Italy today. And so it's interesting that a lot of what we study in ancient times has an impact today because it's what made the country what it was. And then the third aspect is survival Italian. So we have a young Italian woman who is great in languages and teaches a survival Italian class to really be able to give our students a handle on how to navigate their daily life in Rome. So those are the 3 large aspects of the culture course that we offer, and the students have found it quite helpful, I think.
yeah, absolutely. To clarify maybe on that last language piece, it's not a full, language course.
Yes.
It's a language component within a cultural understanding course. Is that
Exactly right. We understand that not everyone needs that a language course that they get credit for necessarily. But one thing we have found is that the students do need something because not everybody speaks English in Italy. And so this is an opportunity to give them some tools they need to navigate their daily life, as opposed to an academic language course that you're getting credit for.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as I've had the opportunity to go experience other places in the world and other cultures, often I absolutely learn about that other place, but a really big learning outcome is even some of my own American culture by seeing how people operate differently and do things different.
Yes.
Maybe something I thought that was really normal, I realized all of a sudden, that actually isn't normal, and people live differently. Have you seen that kind of process unfold over the semester for students in the program?
Greg, that is such a great question, and I absolutely have. Someone has said there are various stages of learning, and one is that you don't know what you don't know. The other is you do know what you don't know, and then finally you can go on from there. And I find that when we are immersed in our own culture, who we are, what we're used to, we see that as the norm, and we really don't know what we don't know about how other people think, feel, and do things. And so what happens is that students will come over and they'll be immersed for those 3 months. And this is an opportunity for them to see the world through other eyes and how different people do things. And then for many students, it really is the very first time they ever realize what they thought they knew and how it's different from what other people know. And the only way that can really happen is to be immersed and to rub shoulders and to live life with people who think differently.
Right. Yeah. I love that. I know for me, it was the very first time was 2009, and I went to Kenya and I sat with Kenyans, and they were, and we went to a church service, and in this church service, it was very different than what I was used to.
Yeah.
Has even church, maybe could we touch down there for a second?
Yes.
How does church and even the Christian faith and the expression of Christian faith different in Rome maybe than what we would understand in North America?
Well, one thing that many people do not realize is how spiritually dark the country of Italy is. I've heard a statistic saying that the evangelical population of Italy is 0.1%. In fact, there are even parts of North Africa that have a larger percentage of evangelical believers than Italy does. So many people don't realize that. However, God is alive and well there. He's working, but he's working in different ways, different size churches. It has a different impact on the people who are involved with that. And so when when students will say, well, is there a place where I can go to church? Yes, but it may not be anything, what you're used to or the context or a very, very different dynamic. So it is a very interesting experience for students to experience either an English-speaking church, which may have a certain dynamic, and even an Italian-speaking church, and to experience how Italians experience Christianity in church, and it's very, very different.
Yeah, I think whenever I chat with students who are thinking about doing these programs, my role is on the U.S. side of things, working with colleges and universities. I think my invitation to students is come and see how God is moving in a different country and context.
Yes,
and maybe learn how you can respond to how God is moving in that place. So maybe let's just close with that invitation that if you're a college student who's thinking about doing something like this, we want to invite you to come and see what God is doing in Rome, Italy, and be a part of the program.
Yes, absolutely. We would love to have you. We'd love for you to have this academic, this cultural, this spiritual, and this community experience, and really have an opportunity to perhaps even be stretched by God to see the world through a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Larry, for conversation today.
My great pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry, for sitting down with us this week to chat about your story and cultural understanding course in Italy. You could catch us on our next episode as we talk about changing majors while studying abroad with Amberly Miter. Our spring 2023 applications will be closing on November 1st. If you have ever thought about studying abroad with us, now is the time to apply. The link to apply is here in our show notes. Do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.